Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be going over the 5 mistakes I made to fuck up my first deal. Let's dive right into it. Alright, so we had the acquisition of the lead. That came from another partner. So the lead source, so that's where we got the lead. So, we had the acquisition, the lead came from another wholesaler, so that's another party involved with the deal. And then we had the deal structure, which was a hybrid deal. So it was a sub 2 and seller finance. And why am I telling you this? I'm telling you all this to give you a perspective on the deal structure itself, or not to make the mistakes that I did. The deal structure, and the total was about $170K for this property. So that $170K, about $130 was mortgage, sub 2, and then the other $40 seller, finance, and cash. When I was structuring this deal, the seller was like, all right, 170, that's cool, but what about the mortgage payments I'm gonna be making before closing? I was like, understandable, what we can do is we can reimburse for those. Now, why in my right mind, I was thinking that was a good idea. It wasn't at all, and it didn't make any sense as you got further down the road. So why would I reimburse someone for living in their house? That makes no f***ing sense. And that was rookie mistake number 1. Is that we're gonna reimburse for the mortgage. Why the hell would we do that when he's living there throughout that time frame and it's not making us any money? But it maths out 170, and then we have the mortgage is gonna go down between the time frame of the 2 months that he's going to be staying there, and then the time frame before we close on that property. So the balance is going to go down anyways, and now we're saying that we're going to reimburse him for the interest he's paying down rather than the equity. So at closing, we ended up looking at the mortgage statement and taking that as the number to go off of to see what is remaining on that and how we can get that sorted out. All right, but that is just the deal structure. We have the lead source, and then what's another thing that you do when you get a deal under contract? You put it in escrow through a title company. So title company, first deal, you don't know what title company to work with. And I made the terrible mistake of going with a new title company that didn't have any type of reputation, anything like that. But they had a parent company, which is a mortgage company that had hundreds of reviews. So that made me feel better. But at the end of the day, the title company was nothing. So. And they said that they were investor friendly and they'd be able to work on subject to deals, seller finance deals, all that fun stuff. So I'm like, cool, okay, that's awesome. And it came down to the night before closing, and I'm like, hey guys, just wanted to check in, make sure we're all good to go. We have the subject to documents ready, and promissory note, all that is ready to go. Law firm's good, and I get a reply back saying that, no, we don't have any type of subject to, we don't have any type of promissory note, we don't have anything like that prepared for closing. I'm like, well, why not? You guys knew it was a subject to deal. And the response I got is, our attorneys don't doing that. I'm like, well then, how come this is the first time we're hearing about it the night before closing? So ended up having to go through to get another law firm to draft these documents. And keep in mind, this is the Friday before Christmas week. So we had to go to another law firm to draft these documents and hope to the Lord that we can get this thing still closed in a timely manner. Surprise, we didn't. It was Christmas week. People are busy, they're doing stuff. They have families, they have lives. So we had to, all right, so I guess we'll add that to mistake number 2, not vetting title company. And I guess the furthermore problem that was there is that I didn't do enough due diligence on this title company to figure out if they would be the best one for me to work with. And what ended up happening is we had one party of the title company saying, yeah, we'll take care of you. Then the other party's like, no, we don't do that. So there's clearly a disconnect within that organization, and that just comes a part of being new. So lesson for them, lesson for me. But that is the acquisition. Then we get into the disposition. So trying to find a buyer for this thing. And what we're trying to do is I had the original deal was 170 purchase price. Then we had cash was 38,990. Mortgage sub 2 was 13330. It was roughly that. So it's mathing out. This was the original deal, and I'm over here sending it to investors as a potential, as a long-term rental, short-term rental. I mean, keep in mind the mortgage payment is only $890.3. Rehab is only paint and carpet, so $15K. So I mean, total entry at this point is, I mean, it's about 60 grand, which is way too much, and I didn't know that yet. So the entry's at 60 grand, and I'm sending all this out to a bunch of investors in my local market. And what I'm doing is I'm sending them a shitty deal, and I don't know it's a shitty deal because the numbers are adding up on my end, but I don't know these people yet. So I'm sending it out, and I'm posting it all over the place that I've got this deal and I'm trying to get it sold. But come to find out, it's not that great of a deal to send to investors. And I like to think of relationships like a bank account. So what I was doing is I was sending this out, and I sent it out to probably 20 people, and I pretty much took money out of all those bank accounts, and now I have a negative balance, and I have to go back through and fix my reputation with them, because right now it's just that I'm just a shitty wholesaler and I sent them this bad deal. So I have to fix that. So 3, sending I sent out a shitty deal to a bunch of investors. Well, we should say. Alright, so that's what it was looking like. But then I was like, hey, I have a private equity friend. And I was like, hey, you put up the capital, I'll do property management. We could, that's how we could do the deal. So they would do capital, me management, and we split cash flow 50-50. And then eventually, you know, I would go through and I would buy them out. And we did this, we went back and forth for about 2 months. And eventually, you know, it came a week before closing, and I was like, hey, we need to, if we want to do this deal, we haven't signed anything, we haven't done anything. I need put some money in escrow so we can get this deal done, and we're all good next week for closing. They were like, oh, that's crazy. You know, why would we do that? You know, we still have to run numbers, which is fair. It's understandable. You got to do your due diligence before you enter in on the deal. But it's like, hey, there's a fire underneath my ass right now. We need to get this thing done, and I kind of feel like you're dragging your feet. So I need to see that there by the end of today, and we'll go from there and we'll get this deal sorted out. So that ended up not working out. So I'm like, all right, I've got a week to find another buyer. I went back to the seller and I'm like, hey, my partner backed out on me. This is what's going on. Can we extend the agreement another week so we can get this taken care of? And I can find another partner to do the deal with and we're still good to close, all that good stuff. Sound good? Cool. And then within that renegotiation, I was like, hey, because this happened, came out to new deal terms. So we had that it would still be 170, and then we had that we could do seller finance for 17K, 25K at closing, and then we have the mortgage 130K. All right, so then we have the seller finance. We have the 25K at closing. Obviously that makes more than 170. So really, purchase price 172. And that seller finance includes the mortgage payments and everything. We have 172K. All right, but that wasn't in the updated agreement. It was just the 170. And that's what we sent over to the title company. And we're like, hey, these are the updated terms, make it happen. So we did that. And then we ran into issues from there, but we'll touch on that later. So I'm like, all right, we got these new terms, who can we sell it to? And then at the time, you guys know, been working with Chad, Teddy, and the gang. This was as I was getting introduced and acclimated to these guys. But Gordon, he was like, hey, I got a buyer for you. I'm like, cool, okay. And ultimately what this property was for a first-time buyer who is a 1099 employee, so they can't qualify for a regular mortgage. But what that did is the deal is structured out in this way, and that allowed us to get them in that door for a low entry cost, and they can do their rehab, and we can go from there. So I was like, cool, all right, let's assign it, get the ball rolling, and go from there. So we assigned it, got the ball rolling, and then of course the night before closing, title company's like, no, we don't have those documents. You need to figure that shit out. And I was scrambling for the whole Friday before Christmas trying to find an attorney that would draft these documents so we could still close on a timely manner. And we found someone. It took them a week and a half to get them back to us, but it's the holidays, you know? So we got the documents back, we're all good. And good to close. Everything's good. We had the documents reviewed, of course, before closing. So when the notary arrived, we're all good to go. Sign, and we're good. Perfect. Everything's good. Deal's gonna close. Less problems. And that was that, right? Wrong. So because of this new deal organization, I made the mistake of not doing math right. So we had that problem, and then as closing came upon us, title company's like, cool, we're sending out the statement. Send it to the seller. He's like, perfect, that looks good. Send it to the buyer. Buyer's of course like, yeah, that's awesome, cool. So that caused a problem with the seller's mortgage payments, right? Of course, why wouldn't it? So it's the day of closing, and we're just now reviewing this, even though it's been approved by the seller, the buyer. We're moving forward. We have people coming out at 4 o'clock that day, and we're just now running into this problem. So it's like, what the heck? And then we also have late payments on the mortgage. So, I mean, and that's about another $1,100. So we ran into that problem as well. So I was like, what the heck, man? We have all this squared away. Mortgage hasn't been paid. So there's a late payment on that. And then the reimbursement for the other 2 payments. Terrible agreement on my part. I fucked up there. And then we have a late payment for December and a late fee on top of that. So there's a problem there. That was coming out of the settlement HUD, because why would we have a late payment, right? Like, why? Why would we pay for that? It doesn't make sense. But previous Caleb made an agreement and said, oh, we'll take care of it. Why? So terrible agreement on my part. And now we're $1,100 that are there that he doesn't want to pay for. And then there's that $1,700 that he doesn't think he's getting. So it's like, okay, I mean, this is we agreed upon, closing is tonight, and now he doesn't want to move forward. What can I do to fix this problem? So I was like, all right, I'll take care of the $1,100, and you said we'd be good. He's like, no, now the math isn't mathing here. He's like, you can do basic math and figure this out, pretty much telling me I'm a fucking idiot, which is fine. He was right. It wasn't mathing out, but that $1,700 was included in the seller finance portion, and he was just not having it. So I'm like, all right. We went back and forth for 6 hours trying to figure this shit out with multiple different parties, and I'm just like, the deal is right here at the finish line. Still hasn't closed yet, mind you. Paperwork has been signed, it's just not been filed, funding hasn't been released, all that fun stuff. But that's that. So we're right here at the finish line, running into this problem. It's like, okay, I mean, we'll just add it to the promissory note, add it to the balloon, and we'll worry about it in 3 years. Cool. That made him happy. I said, I'll just take care of this payment. It'll come out of my cut. We'll be good to go there. Plus $5K to me, who's selling him the deal. But remember, I have this guy who he was gonna get 10K. I slashed that, took it down to 2K. Now we have this problem of another $1,100. Who can I go to that didn't do anything for part of the deal? The guy that gave me the lead, right? I mean, 2K is pretty expensive for a lead. So what can I do? I'm like, hey man, we have this unexpected expense here. You split it with me to make sure this deal happens. Otherwise, we might not be able to do the deal. Sound good? He was pissed, absolutely pissed. I was like, all right, cool. So now is 1.5K. All right, so that $1,100, I said, take it out of my cut. I'm done with this, just make it happen. So now I'm down to 3.9K. I'm down to $3,900 now. That what I'm gonna be making, plus the 1.5. So now I'm down to 2.4, so $2,400 is what I'm gonna be making off this deal after all this headache. But they say that the first deal is always the hardest, and I'll tell you, this one was a fucking bitch. But it's done right there at the finish line. We're just waiting for the stuff to be finished filing with the county. I'll get paid, the deal will be done. Fifth mistake that I made, if we've got room here. I was paying someone for a lead that they didn't do shit with. And ultimately, you know, this guy, he was only there, he kept checking in for the money. That was it. That was the only thing he kept checking in for, to see when he was gonna get paid. But he wasn't there to help me with any of this shit. So I'm just here figuring it out, just trying to get this deal done. And this guy's pretty much just here to figure out when he's gonna get paid. And I have all of these problems to deal with. But we got it done. We're just waiting for everything to be done, settled, and then we just have to work it out with the servicing company, and we'll be done with the deal. But thank you guys for watching this video. This has been a journey to say the least. I didn't want to document it throughout. Well, I did document it throughout the process of getting to this point with the deal just being done. But of course I didn't put it into the other videos because I didn't want to spoil the deal, and I would rather have a video like this going over everything with you over the past couple months just to get this deal done. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit the like button down below, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.